Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens.
We cherish that. We love that particular piece of it because it
teach people like, hey, it's okay, change.
New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
Welcome to today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is silencing your negative chatter. And I have Teron, Rodney, and Steven joining me today. How are y'all?
Good.
Good, glad to hear it. So, silencing negative chatter. Now, one of my friends had said to me that she tries to think positively. But it's like as soon as she gets started thinking positive, it's like negative thoughts just creep in and take over. And so I thought this would be a good topic, silencing our negative chatter.
Yeah, so what I would say to your friend is, what's probably happening is maybe the idea of what's real is blocking what you're trying to put your mind on. So I know a lot of times in the past when I was having issues with negative thoughts, it was often because I was putting it into what I felt was reality. So I would try and think something like, oh, I can dunk this ball. But then I immediately go, oh, but you're only 5'4", so there's no way you could dunk the ball. But the way I silence that is I just tell myself, well, I started by saying, give me 3 chances, I could do anything. So I'm going to try the first 2 times, and the last time, the second time I don't get it, I'm going to take a little while to get back to it, find a way to dunk the ball, and then I'm going to do it.
So you basically telling yourself a new story,
yes,
so to speak. Give me 3 times and I can do anything.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say with that, for me, almost the same as what Teron was saying. Just basically just keep going. Because I know for me it's the same, and I do it now. Even so, like I struggle sometimes to keep a positive mindset. But I sort of change my narrative of what I'm telling myself. I'm aware of what's going on. So I'm like, all right, come on, Steve. Like, let's change that story real quick. And then I'll start, going about my day, and then something may happen, and then I'm back to the negative thought, and then I gotta stop for a second. I'm like, get it together. So after a while, I get to a point as to where it's like, okay, I can go on a 4-day, a whole week without having nothing negative. No negative thoughts. But like I said, every now and then I still have them. But yeah, just continuing to keep thinking positive note instead of negative note, regardless of what you got going on.
With your friend going through, when that happens to me, it's usually something negative already going on. And it's like I'm trying to think positive.
Yeah.
But I'm still in the reality of the negative thing, so that those thoughts can still be there. Then I have to take a deep breath, like, hold on.
Right.
I am more than all this right here that's going on.
Right.
And then now that I took a second, and now it's like, now I can get those positive thoughts in my head and eliminate the negative ones.
That was kind of deep right there. and like what you're saying, that to me, that's one of the quickest ways to get back into positive thinking. It's because whatever's going on, there's always a higher perspective that you can take. And so we can look at it from our physical human eyes and you know, with everything we can deal with it on a physical level. But when we take it to that higher level and to the highest perspective, that's a game changer. And so, when you take it to the higher perspective, what does that process look like to you?
To me, it's just, like I said, just sitting back and realizing, like just taking a step back from the situation and realizing I'm more than all of this that's going on. Like this ain't gonna matter in a week for real. Like, you know, and you know, in the moment you mad or you got whatever, you got all these emotions going on, you might not realize that, this is really small in the grand scheme of things. Like, I'm much more than what's happening right here. And so I usually just have to take a second to just realize that and basically remind myself of that. Yeah.
It's almost like getting into alignment with who you really are.
Right, and then I'm not gonna say like sometimes it's like immediately I can do that. No, a day might go by, 3 days might go by. Then I might have to get to the point where I need to step way away, like like way away. Go to another house in the country and just step way away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just pull back. Like, I'm the same with you. I'll pull back from everybody for a second. Like, all right, look, let's leave it like that. Let me just, oops.
Did you know the problem and the solution are not in the same vibration? So if you're, let's just say, vibrating angry, if you're angry or sad or depressed, whatever it is, if you're vibrating in a negative way, the solution is not in that space.
Wow, I ain't never think about that like that. Yeah. Cause it's like, you know how you mad and you like, I gotta solve this now, but nothing coming about. And it's like when you take a second to be like, all right, let me figure this out for real. You coming from a whole different space than the angry one. So yeah, I get that.
And I did the same thing. Like, I was just like in this space, kind of like in this funk, because I was giving my attention to everything that was outside of me and what was going on outside of me. And what was going on outside of me was crazy, right? And so for 10 days in a row, I mean, my head was hurting every day, and I'm just like, oh my God. And at the end of the day, I'm just like, oh, Calgon, take me away, or whatever. But it took me 10 days to pull myself out of that and say, okay, let me step into my own power. You know, why am I giving my power away to all of that when, as you said, I'm bigger than all of that. And so the minute I stepped into my own power, and I think I was sharing this with you guys a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't necessarily know what to do. I didn't know what to do. And I might have even called Teron. I don't know, I probably called somebody and was like, look, this is what's going on, or whatever. And, people kind of tell you, well, maybe this or maybe that. But they're coming from the same energy that I'm presenting it to them, right? And so it's no good answer, but, you kind of, when you're in that negative place, you want somebody to be like, yeah, that is terrible.
You want to boost you up a little bit.
You want to feed it just a little.
Cause like when you at the peak, like sometimes when I'm at the peak of my anger, I don't want nobody to come in with like, yo, do just do this. No, I want you with me. I want you hype with me for a second.
I feel this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but then I just took the time to center myself, and what that looked like for me on that particular day was I literally saw myself shoot my energy up higher than the tallest tree and wider than the widest horizon. And I just made myself shine brighter than the brightest sun. So in my mind, I'm and just beaming. And from that space, instantly, the answer of what to do came. Instantly. And it flipped the whole situation around.
Yeah, I had a situation. I was at work, and the way I looked at the situation, it wasn't bad, but I took it in negative. Because I was finding, it was like, you know how sometimes you just, something reminds you of something, and then you just hit that aha moment, and you're like, hold up, that's why they did X, Y, Z. And then you start putting things together, and I'm like, so in my mind, I'm creating this scenario in a negative sense, right? And then I'm looking at everybody in this negative way, and I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. I'm like, it's not even, it probably not even like that. Like, I'm just all in my head for no reason at all, creating this problem for nothing. And then I realized that, you know, what I was thinking, it was totally opposite. But I had to take it was probably all day. It took me all day to get that thought though. But at the end of the day, I looked at it and I was like, okay. So I was questioning myself like, well, Steve, why were you even in that space anyway from the beginning? You know, I'm sitting back talking to myself, trying to figure it out. But I know for me, like, when it comes to negative thinking, and also it depends on like the environment that you're in, you know, because like if you're surrounded by people or whatever the situation may be, and it's negative, you're gonna, even if you want to be in a positive mood, if you're surrounded by it, it's like you get that little down on it, but you fight to be positive, but it's like you just stuck in that little rut. So for me, I would say just trying to navigate into a space of positivity, and get your mind to that place of where it's like peace, calmness, and not thinking about the negativity of what's going on. Because it's easy for anybody to sit back. You may be happy now, but let me come in and I'm in a bad mood. Everybody's gonna be in a bad mood. Except for me. Except for you. But yeah.
Yeah, I think also another way to silence negative talk is to remove yourself from it, like y'all saying, but also when you remove yourself from it, put yourself in something that you know for a fact you enjoy doing. Like for me it's sleeping, honestly. Anything negative happen, I just go to sleep, and I find that it's easier for me to, like, I know I create my own reality, but it's a lot easier for me to create my dreams in my dream, so I just sleep.
That's good to have tools. This weekend, I just came to this huge realization, and it's crazy to say that I came to this realization because I wrote it in my children's book word for word.
Right.
That's been published, well, that I wrote back in August of last year. But I'm just coming to the realization this weekend. So it's so crazy because I don't even know if we'll have time to tell the whole story, and so I won't. But the words that was written in my book, the princess in the book told a little girl who was having a hard time with loving herself. She told her, just decide that you love yourself and make that same decision every day. So my realization was, it was a particular thing that I was struggling with enjoying. And so my thing was, I said, I'm going to stop saying negative stuff about this thing. And so I stopped saying negative stuff, but I still never enjoyed it. But then I realized that all I had to do was decide that I loved it and make that same decision every day. And so when I'm saying I'm not going to say anything negative, basically what I'm telling myself is I'm going to still see everything that's negative, but I'm just not going to say anything about it. Versus me deciding that I love it, and then now you attune into a whole different set of things, right? And I'm attuning to everything about it that I love. And so what I realized is I can do that in every area of my life. And so instead of looking out there and waiting to see is things lining up the way I want it to line up, and then decide, oh, do I like it or I don't like it, I can decide in advance, I'm going to love this. And then when I get there, keep making that same decision. Oh, I love this. I love this. I love that. I love him. I love her. I love this situation that's going on. And you start attuning your attention to totally different things. And now you're just in a place of love.
Look, you just said that. It just made me think about like, dang, you know, this weekend I was with a family member and I was listening to what was going on in their life, you know, the issues and so forth. And yet, I was still in a place of like in a positive mind state, even though the environment was sort of like a rainy and damp, you know. But I was still in a good spirits, and I'm just listening. But what you said, I wasn't looking at the negative. Like I didn't think. I was just more listening. I love you. You know, this is why I'm listening, because I love you. You know, I was just thinking more of what you were just saying, like all of the positive things. Even though the environment was like not the best of the best, but I didn't even realize I was doing that though. I really did. But yeah, and it didn't change my mood, because normally sometimes when you in an environment that you don't want to be in, your whole mood changes. But my mood didn't change. It was just the same.
So, I asked this question before, probably like maybe a year ago, I asked this same question. But the question is, if Jesus Christ was sitting right here, what do you think people would say? Like, would they be like, Jesus, let me tell you what's going on. My wife acting afflicted. My toe been hurting for weeks. Like, is that what they would bring? Is that what people would bring, or would they just be like in awe and be like, whew, just drowning in the energy of that? And I really would say that I don't know the answer to that question, because in a sense I would think people be like, you know, heal my son, and you know, asking for miracles. But in the other sense, I had gone to I don't know. It's hard for me to keep track of where I've been, but I was somewhere in Asia.
Okay.
And we were going to see the Buddha statue, and so we're like high in the sky. And we're like on a, I don't, what do you call it? Something in the sky where we're just like, it's like I'm gonna say a sky ride.
Okay.
So we're just on a sky ride, and the sky ride is taking us to where the Buddha is. And so it's maybe 8 of us on this car, and 4 of us traveled together. So 4 of us were together, and then the other people, they may or may not have been with each other. I don't really know. But we're just kind of all just shooting the breeze, talking. And then the instant the Buddha came in sight, the whole car just went silent, like. And it was like this, like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. But it was just, this is just a statue, right? It was just so mesmerizing, like the energy that was coming off of this statue, it caused the whole car to go, and everybody's just staring in awe, like. And so I'm like, what if it was a real Buddha? Like, you know, what is the energy? How would it make us feel, or whatever, or real Jesus, or you know, real Mother Mary, whoever? How would we respond? And so, like, we always say somebody else is coming in, causing us to feel a certain way. But what if our energy is big enough that when they come in, they take on us? Yeah. And so to me, that would be one of my goals anyway, is to beam out such a loving presence that when people come in, they're like, whew. Like they came in a bad mood, but they can't be in a bad mood while they up in here.
In my space.
Going back to when you said, you know, like you made a decision, I was thinking about how, like if I'm going into, like say for instance, I'm going to a situation where I'm uncomfortable asking somebody for something, or I don't want to, I will play out the whole entire conversation in my head. Like I can, their words, my words, I don't know how I'm doing this, but I can play out the entire thing, and I can get upset about that and everything. Like all of this, like I'm talking about, like really go through all the emotions. Like I'm upset driving there, you know. But the way I stopped doing that was, I asked myself, like, do I really want that to happen?
Yeah.
Like, why am I even thinking of, like, that's not what I want. So it's like, shift my focus and my thoughts to how I want the situation to go.
me, I would say like what you were saying with Christ. Like I would like to be just that person when you walk in the room and it's like the light just is like wham. Like, oh man, everything, you know, just sending that positive energy. I'm just like a field of light. But I think a lot of people, you may have some that would talk about their problems, their Christ, you know, they'll sit back and give the whole spiel. And then I think there might be some as to where it'll be memorized. You know what to say, you know. So I think I would probably be just like one complaint, because I had nothing to complain about, or memorize.
I know a lot of the, a lot of people's negative thoughts come from things outside of them that's going on. You know, all these things going on in the world and all of this. But I kind of been focusing on telling myself that no matter what goes on outside of me, I'm okay.
That's good.
No matter what.
Right.
No matter what happens outside of me, I'm okay within.
I think a lot of people don't think of it in that sense, you know. It's like they're so worried about the ifs and not understanding that, you know, you already, you have this amazing power within you. You just don't realize it. But if they did realize that, it would be like, wow, why am I arguing with this person? Why am I stressing about these bills or not having a job right now? Everything happens for a reason. You don't ever know what that reason is, but it could be for good. You know, it could be something bad, but even if something bad happens, still something good that's gonna come out of that.
You got the power to change all of it.
Exactly.
But also, like I always heard that people would be like, in order to stop feeling negative, that you have to accept what is. And I was always like, I don't want to accept it, or whatever. But I've finally understanding that, because when you're in resistance to something, for one thing, you've just given it power. Because if you have no power over me, then there's no reason for me to push you, right? So when I'm in resistance, I'm giving that thing power. And so that's the first thing to kind of, I guess, process is like, to accept it is like, accept it, allow it to be, accept it as it is, right? And then a lot of times we're in judgment, is this good or bad? And so as long as we're judging something as good or bad, we're then again imbuing it with power. And so rather than pushing against it, judging it, just accept it and believe that it's good. Just go ahead and say, you know, this is for my good. You know, whatever is happening, it's going to teach me something wonderful about myself. It's about to help me to step into a new paradigm in life, you know, whatever. Just claim it as this is something good. Go ahead and appreciate the situation. Like, for example, I had a friend who was really causing me a great deal of stress. And at first I was like, bad friend. But then I realized that in this process, that I'm actually learning how to step into my power more and more. And that's what this person is teaching me. And so instead of saying bad friend, I started saying thank you and just being appreciative of the energy that she was bringing me. That even though I knew it didn't feel good in the moment, but once I transformed it in my head, then it was perfectly great, because I'm like, I'm about to be even more powerful. You know, so accept it, appreciate it, and allow. So allowing is allowing what's next to happen. So it's almost like, you know, let's just take the same situation with the bad friend. If I allow it, okay, so if my first response is, oh, dang, that's terrible, then I've just created that situation. But if I'm allowing, because if my first response is, okay, this is gonna be something good. This is for me. And then I'm allowing that situation to come in. I'm creating that situation. So it's accepted, appreciate, and allow. So allow something good to come in from what you initially may have thought was bad.
Like that.
Like that. But that's pretty much how it is though. Like I said, you look at something, you may think that is bad, you know, whatever the situation may be, but in actuality, it's probably something that's going to benefit you in the long run. It's just changing your perspective of how you seeing it.
And that too is also written in my book, the second Tower book. Because, you know, she has an injury, hurts herself, and she's like, oh, this is terrible. But then she learns, no, don't focus on that. Focus on what you would want to happen. And so this situation ended up causing her to be in a space of great power, learning her power, and learning how to imagine and create from her imagination instead of from what she's looking at around her.
I'll tell anybody, just, you know, with that, the negative thinking, the main thing is think about what you're thinking. When you think about what you're thinking, is it something that's going to, you know, is it really bad? You know, is it really bad? Or, you know, it can be something that's going to benefit you in the long run. I forgot, it was somebody that said something to me, and it stuck with me. It's about losing things. When you lose something, it's for your, I forgot how it went, but it basically, if you lose something, it may be for your benefit. There's nothing there's nothing in it that's bad. It's a reason why it's happening.
I would try, like some people can do, is catching themselves in a negative thought and flipping it to positive, and see how, you know, that would benefit them.
And I would say just to take a step back and go find something that you really enjoy and do that.
I agree with that. But that's something I do.
Yes. So in general, it's like we have these thoughts, we think they're negative. Once we start thinking they're negative, we create more negativity because we're now thinking we're having these negative thoughts.
Right.
But if we can just stop it in the track, and, you know, everybody has said some wonderful things of what to do. You know, you can go to sleep, you can change your storyline, you can realize that you're bigger than all of this. You can just keep exuding positive energy. It's just so many tools, techniques. Catch yourself in the act when you're saying it negative, just flip it. There's so many different things you can do. Get aligned with who you are, because the whole point is you just want to feel good. And whatever methods it takes to make yourself feel good, that's where you're going to be. That's when you're in alignment. And from that space, you have the power to create whatever it is that you want. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again next week. Until then, this is our dad.
It's Rodney.
Dr. Ron.
Steve.